welcome you all to the Rimpak International Naval War Games.
We've got an unknown surface contact, 8,000 yards.
Is this some kind of exercise?
Probably. I want to have this thing thoroughly investigated.
We'll get a team in the water right away.
Get me on it.
It's nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you, Whitney.
Things I wanted to know about BattleShip. What did you call the alien species?
The aliens in BattleShip, we called them regents. Pete didn't want to call them aliens, you know, and he was actually more interested in finding characters in them that were a bit more familiar, a bit more kind of human and sympathetic. So we started calling them regents, and then we had other creatures called thugs.
And also, you know, we kind of found out right in the middle of the film that actually these regents and thugs are coming from Planet G.
Planet G.
Yes, so they're Gers, I guess.
Okay. So you worked on the special effects for the movie? You got to help with the aliens? Or I guess I was told using the word alien was kind of a bugaboo.
Well, we would call them regents, and what was really important was, in our world, was establishing a logic. So we would figure out, you know, what planet they came from, and you know, what star and why they're sensitive to light, because it's going to be a story point later, and you know, what do these holes mean, and how would they breathe, and so all this sort of stuff that no one's ever going to see, but it was important to us to sort of wrap our heads around making it feel real.
I think it's okay to call them aliens.
Okay.
I think the big thing for Pete was that they weren't monsters.
Okay.
They're actually, in his mind, they're warriors. They have that kind of nobility, just as our own military do. So they are the enemy, but they're not monstrous.
What was done in this movie that's sort of different than the water effects we've seen in other movies?
Well, I mean, yeah, if you talk about visual effects in BattleShip, it's all about the water. And you know, when we went through the script and saw all of the sequences that take place on the open ocean, we knew we were going to have to raise our game to sustain sequences of water simulations during the day close to camera. So we started what we called the BattleShip Water Project, and all of our R&D guys here at ILM got together, and over the course of a year, they kind of re-engineered how we tackle fluid simulation at ILM.
I think also one of the big challenges is the volume. Volume, when we're talking about volume, we're talking about how much water there is, which is kind of a big ocean, and there are different technologies to do, small water or medium water or large water, but also the volume of work. I mean, we had over 300-400 shots just on water. So kind of ILM is kind of built for that kind of volume work where we spend 3 or 4 months setting that up, and then once we push the train, it just keeps going and going, and then we crank him up.
Describe the alien homeworld to me. What was the sort of creative process going back?
The idea is that their homeworld is dying, but it's they came from a world that had water like ours, and they were looking for a world like ours. They've been to a number of different planets. They've done this before. When you see the designs of the thugs and the regents, they have sort of this utilitarian quality to their armor. Like if they were in a battle on some other planet and they lost an arm, well, then they put a mechanical arm on. So there's this constant interweaving of the mesh with the mechanics. So some of them have tools that they use, and those were sort of the hired goons that sort of protect the scientists. And that was the other thing, was that Pete didn't want them all to be giant muscular monsters. So some of them are scientists. They're just doing research, and that sort of speaks to that one moment where Cal meets one of them that we called Clarence, and he, isn't interested in being violent or towards him at all. He's just as curious as we would be if we saw an alien.
When you look at their ships, they're not clean and shiny, which was great for us because often that's what we do. Everything's clean and shiny and very synthetic looking, and
they can't all be the Enterprise.
Exactly. As Glenn says, they're supposed to have a history. They've been to other planets. They've done this before. So the ships are a little bit beaten up. There's rust and dirt on the ships, and that was a great thing to be able to do.
Which was your favorite part to work on in BattleShip, of the ships in the water?
Well, I did the majority of the creatures. We shared a lot of the stuff. and the shredders too. I mean, I liked all of it. I mean, I like things that have to do with innovation and figuring things out, and you know, how you make the flesh, you know, look right, or the animation, or the shredders, or the water, you know, was awesome. You know, I thought.
Yeah, for me, it's it's the Stingers. Those are the names of the alien ships, and they the inspiration for their design were water bugs, which have kind of a menacing profile whenever you kind of look at them up close. And kind of early on in prep, Pete had this idea that not only, kind of reflecting the characteristic of a water bug, can they sit on the surface of the ocean, but that they recycle water constantly over their surfaces. And that technically is a big challenge for us to kind of pull that off. But when we did it, it became a really interesting look for these ships, that they're almost kind of cloaked in water. It became a kind of a beautiful image.
Shine on, Silverbird. This is Whitney Seibold at ILM.